Who sets all that up?
It's the live feed's going on Facebook, so yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna start without him.
But it's broadcasting, you said?
Yeah. All right, I'd like to call to order the January 16th City Council meeting. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Jackie, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Evans?
Here?
Vice Mayor Parrish?
Here?
Ms. Cooper?
Here.
Ms. Chamberlain? Mr. Velardo?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Do I have a motion to excuse Ms. Chamberlain?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
That takes us to proceedings. Do I have a motion to approve the City Council meeting proceedings from January 2nd, 2024?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
And that takes us to financial statements. Everyone should have received the December 2023 financial report. Do I have a motion to receive that?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Velardo?
Just a point of order, since we were not on in December,
Look, I've never said, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I've never said anything. I know it's been this council's practice to always abstain, but that is not required.
okay.
So it's up to you.
Okay, now, yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
And that takes us to our public comments. It's kind of cold. We don't have a lot of guests, but would anyone like to make a public comment? All right, seeing none, that takes us to our City of Milford Committee of the Whole meeting. Jackie, will you, I guess I'll call the meeting to order. Jackie, will you call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Here, sorry.
Here.
Ms. Cooper?
Here.
Mr. Velardo?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
And we also have a public comment section for our committee meeting, if anyone would like to make a comment. Seeing none, that takes us to the first item, the Trisco change order for the City Hall building.
Thank you, Mayor. We're having a committee as a whole because we haven't had committee assignments yet. Typically, an item like this would go through committee, but that's why we're bringing that to the council today. And I think Mr. Pacheco also has an item he wants to discuss. You should have received Thursday of last week proposed change order in regards to the repairs to City Hall. There's some additional work that Trisco, is the company that we contracted with to do the work, is proposing. If you have that as a reference, or if you have that on your phone, you can look that up. The additional pricing, the additional change orders are some masonry addition coating. There is one section of the building that was not included in the bids, some additional work that they cut, that they are proposing just to add that additional coating, some of that coating that you've seen, the white on the building, if you will, and some of those cracks, which will ultimately be painted over. There was one section that was missing, so that's our bid. The other item is the windows, doors, and the perimeters of the building. If you go up to the windows, you go up to the doors, the crack seal is deteriorating quite a bit. In some areas, it's peeling off. So this change order is also to add additional funds to complete that caulking of the doors and the windows. And then there's actually a change order deduct on there as well for some stair landing options that they're just going to go ahead and include within their regular work. So they're going to deduct that. All in all, the change orders with the change order deduct this evening are $11,198, $11,198. And since this is the actual bid, the original bid, and it's for consideration and approval of advancing an ordinance to the law director.
Any questions about that?
I'll only say that it's long overdue. It's, obviously it's a lot of money, but I think that we need to certainly protect our asset here, being our building. So I would certainly be in favor of supporting making all the necessary improvements.
Anybody else?
No,
Does
I'll
someone-
make that
Okay,
motion.
someone to
I
make a
agree.
motion?
Yeah, I would make that motion that we move forward with the change order for curriculum 11,198.
Correct, yes.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
All right, that takes us to our second topic, which is rules of council. So hopefully all of you have looked over those. I think without Ms. Chamberlain here, maybe we can discuss further and vote at the next meeting. I'll let you comment on that.
So the charter requirement is that that you pass it within 30 days of the first council meeting. So the suggestion that I have, Mayor, is, which council can do or not do, it's not a legal issue per se. But one thing you can do is you can just pass the rules that have been in place again, but you can always amend them at any time. So if you wanted to, you could pass them to comply with the charter requirement, the current ones that are in place. Then you can continue to, you discuss them tonight as well. You discuss it as much as you want, and then when Ms. Chamberlain's back, or whenever somebody makes a motion, you can rewrite the rules or anytime you want and want to amend them. So it's really up to you guys. One thing before, just so I'm clear, so to answer Mr. Velardo's question, it's actually specifically in the rules that so long as you read the minutes prior to voting on them, you don't have to attend a vote. So I wanted to be, because I have left that alone, but the council rule says you can still vote if you read the minutes, even if you did not attend the meeting. So just to be clear going forward. So I'm glad that question was brought up, because I've always wanted to chime in. I'm like, no, that's their practice. They don't. And and in fairness, the rule says you shall abstain if you didn't attend and you didn't read it. But that's if you read them, you're perfectly capable. And Ohio law generally says you don't have to attend the meeting that you approve the minutes of. So anyway, with that, that's perfectly acceptable that you could pass these again. Those would be in place, and you can amend them at any time.
Did anybody have any major changes?
The only thing I would like to see is, since we do it as a standard practice, is in number 2, where we talk about when we meet, is that we just go ahead and put it in there that we meet only one time during the months of June, July, and August. And whether it's the first or third Tuesday, I don't,
Just so it says the
Right.
one time a month.
And my schedule, it's much easier the further out that we know that, for anybody's
and third.
schedule, for scheduling purposes, summer, all that kind of stuff, it would be conducive, just that we're very specific. If we could, put that in the rules, that in June, July, and August. And obviously, something comes up, I know in the past they've called special meetings,
Right.
but for the most part, for scheduling purposes, and I would just suggest, unless someone has, preference, that it would just be the first Tuesday of the month, June, July, and August, like I said,
I forget what we've been doing.
I was
We've been
just gonna say,
third.
We
Is it
typically
usually
do
been-
the third Tuesday
Yeah.
of June, July, and
In
August.
yeah, it mattered, just so that we have at least
So you know
scheduled.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
We usually vote on that when, the summer
Usually,
time?
in the past, I believe it was like May or June, but the further notice personally
that's
from.
fine.
Right,
for
well, it makes
planning
sense. We could
purposes.
put it in the rules.
Yeah, you
of
put them
Yeah.
in the rules, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
because we
would-
always do it,
Yeah.
so.
Ms. Bain, is there a Word version of this somewhere? Do you think?
Rules of council.
The rules of council, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, if you could send that to me, then I can
Absolutely.
make edits to make it easier for everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have any other ones to discuss?
Mayor, I have some thoughts, but what I'll do is, once I get that from Ms. Bain, and I'll make some suggestions that I'll send to all of you to council, and you can use them or not as you will. By any chance, just my observations of other places and things for 20.
We'll approve what we have now, and then February 6th meeting, we'll all look at Brian's suggestions, and we can discuss then if we want to make any
Right.
changes or not.
And I believe as someone said, you mentioned possibly about how we read in ordinances and
Yeah,
things
so,
of that nature.
so the one thing you've got to, unfortunately, that you can't mess with is right now the proposal by committee for ordinances, which is why we had to go in the committee of the whole, not only to do the change order. From my perspective, that committee work, and again, I know it's been the practice of this, so I don't want to step on the practice. From my perspective, you just have that done at council meeting, and then you don't need committee meetings. But that is not a legal opinion. That is an operational opinion, which
That's a charter change.
and that would be a charter change. So to your point, Mr. Velardo, I don't think I can. The one suggestion I had made before about committees, I don't think I can make given how the charter reads without changing the charter. We can't just amend it by rule.
And just because I'm a person who loves politics, if you watch other council meetings from other communities, we are obviously very different. And a lot of places do it a much more, what I would consider a streamlined version, to your point, so that in a lot of ways, it's a lot more effective if something comes up, especially for City Manager Doss's, advantageous, something comes up, so that we don't have to go to this committee, as a whole, and you can just bring something up and some change orders or anything of that nature, so.
I agree with that operationally.
Yeah.
And the only other comment, Mayor, is that I did want to take a look specifically at paragraph 12 vis-a-vis the public comment rule, because there's been some litigation with other communities about their public comment limits. So I would just make my suggestion based on what I think, how the law has evolved over the last few years. So I'll make that in the draft that I send you. I don't want to discuss a whole bunch of it now
Give
because,
everyone 60 minutes? Is that
yeah,
what you're doing?
exactly, something like that, yes.
So do I have a motion to accept these tonight as is, and then we'll revisit February 6th, I guess it will be?
Sure, so moved.
Second?
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
All right, do we need a motion, I guess, to close the committee of the whole meeting?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
All right, that takes us to Mr. Dawson, the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. A few items for you this evening. Just a reminder, we are working with Terracon to conduct our two-tier compliance and evaluation at the former Marathon site, the municipal parking lot down by Harvest Market. They're still intend to install 2 monitoring wells on Locust Street. They were going to do that this week, but because of weather, they pushed that back to next week. Shouldn't take but maybe a few days to get that in. Again, that's part of our 2-tier compliance with Buster, which is the Bureau of Underground Storage Tanks and Remediation with the state of Ohio. Jim Trail Park, canoe and kayak launch. Some of you may have noticed on our social media page. It's on our website and also publicly published. The city is finally accepting bids for the canoe and kayak launch at Jim Trail Park. Just a reminder to the public, anyone who's interested, those bids are due to the city by 10:30 on February the 6th. We anticipate completion of the project by the end of May, hopefully around Memorial Day. So we can open that up for canoe and kayak season. You probably saw my manager's report, but just a reminder and to let the public know, the city intends to submit 2 grant applications for wastewater projects with the State of Ohio Water Wastewater Grant. One is a UV system for the wastewater treatment plant. The other is sanitary sewer lining for all the Claritoma subdivision. The funding request for both of these projects that we're requesting within this grant application totals $919, with the city committing $69,500 for engineering and design. Engineering and design are not included in these grants. The rest of the money is, that's for both of those projects combined. The city will need certification of funds as part of the application submittal, which is just simply a certification of funds available through the finance director and the finance department for the city. One item that is not on your manager's report, because I got this information late, so this is hot off the press, but if council will recall, in 2022, council passed an agreement, basically a revenue sharing, or revenue with the medical marijuana facility that's out there off of River's Edge. Just got a call from the folks at the medical marijuana What we did was basically we taxed 1% of the gross receipts that are coming from the medical marijuana dispensary. That dispensary opened up in April of last year, so 8 months in, and they are to pay 1% of their gross revenue. Pleased to report that we should be receiving a check for $95,903.83, $95,903.83, which actually is trending us, if you do the silly math on that, for about $144,000 annually. That's just with 8 months of reporting, and that's an annual report. So kudos to the city for having that vision to enact that legislation. So that's a little bit of revenue that will go in for, I believe, economic development and public safety were the earmarks within those funds that we received. There are no standing committee meetings at this time. And just a reminder, February 6th is our next regularly scheduled city council meeting at 7.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, may I interrupt on
Yes.
what Mr. Doss said? So one of the things that council needs to be aware of is because of the passage of issue 2, and I'm not had a chance to talk with Mr. Doss, but it's flagging because I'm seeing it in my other jurisdictions too. You have the ability under issue 2 to prohibit, limit, or not do anything at all with respect to now recreational marijuana dispensaries. And I'm not suggesting what council should do by any stretch. I'm saying council needs to think about it. Doesn't need to do anything today. Doesn't need to pass a moratorium, in my opinion, because even if you had even if you were applying for a license, that process doesn't start for 6 months, and they don't from December 7th when the law went into effect, and you don't start issuing licenses till 3 months after that. So you have time. Just wanted to flag the issue for council that if that's something you want to do with respect to recreational marijuana, that's something you need to start thinking about and give the manager and I,
Didn't we, I thought, that we have designated areas or restricted areas or?
So council, Mr. Velardo, only approved one medical marijuana
Right.
dispensary, and that's
Okay.
the one that you see out on River's Edge. So that is the only permitted
Okay.
one under the medical marijuana licensure.
Gotcha.
which would apply to medical, would not doing anything to that. They could be any, maybe you don't want to do.
Something we did, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there something on the rules for the SOBs, sexual-oriented businesses, that we regulated that?
Yeah, out at the development now.
Yeah.
And you have the right, and you have,
Yeah.
again, under the, well, here's the, with what a lawyer always says, there's always an exception. With the exception that right now, in front of the General Assembly, there are 2 competing bills to change what's happened with issue 2. So in some respects, we're still in a little bit of a vacuum because those competing bills, because I don't think anybody realized that just by passing issue 2 did not enshrine in the Constitution recreational marijuana. What it did is it passed 60 pages of statute, which can be changed by the General Assembly at any time. And so some of the things that they're looking at in the General Assembly is giving, and you don't have it now, and you may not want it at all, but one of the things in one of the proposed bills, I'm forgetting whether it's in the Senate bill or the competing House bill, I just don't remember, would be to grant municipal home rule authority to outlaw home growth. But that's not before you right now. The only thing that you can do right now is to limit, not do anything at all, or specifically other recreational marijuana dispensaries. And that's the to do right now, but that might, again, you don't need to advise my other division clients before you can even apply for the license, and then 3 months for the Cannabis Control Board will even issue them from December 7th, so you still have time. But I wanted to flag that, and
Right.
while Mr. Doss brought up marijuana, facility and the money that you get from it, I thought that would be a good time to bring it up.
So even though this is an agenda item, and I'll just leave this here, Chief Mills on cue and I have had some discussions about this, so anticipating that there will be some flexibility with home rule, we hope. That will give us an opportunity to kind of craft
Yeah.
our own, but looking for some recommendation from us in the future.
We would definitely want recommendations from Chief Mills.
Happy to
Right.
provide it.
Thank you, Mayor.
And there he is for his report. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. You should have my December monthly report in front of you, but I'll go over the highlights. In terms of training, we had it used to be biennial. We're changing that to an annual training, our active shooter drill. And this year, we were lucky enough to use one of the Jesuit Center's buildings down on South Milford Road. It was a really nice facility, and it allowed for some great training. Also, during the month of December, Officers Chastain, Bogan, and Hodges all attended ALICE instructor training. That's typically held out of state, and since it was held here in Claremont County, we opted to send 3 of our training members to that certification. Some notable occurrences by shift, or by squad rather. Squad 1 identified a suspect that had been shoplifting at several targets in the area, and they are now coordinating with the prosecutor's office on charges. They also responded for an auto theft on Elm Street involving a Hyundai. That vehicle was subsequently located in Cincinnati. Council meeting that we're seeing. Please call us if you see anything suspicious. Squad 1 also assisted CPD and Delhi Township PD with a search warrant one of our apartments that resulted in the arrest of Messiah Hart, who was wanted on murder charges in Hamilton County. Squad 2 responded to 795 US 50 for theft report of a trailer and scrap metal valued at approximately $13,000. They also coordinated with the Ohio Adult Parole Authority to identify and charge a suspect who shoplifted over $600 from Walmart. Squad 3 investigated during the month of December. Squad 4 assisted the Miami Township Police Department by locating a subject at our Buffalo Wild Rings on River's Edge who had made threats earlier in the day. When they found him, he was armed in the bar, so he was summoned for weapons while intoxicated and released to Miami Township. Squad 4 also responded to a fight in progress at the Main Street Social and arrested 2 subjects. Total numbers for the month, 1,116 call records. That includes 499 extra patrols, 163 offense reports, 15 auto accidents, 124 written warnings, and 107 citations. Some administrative items. I participated in the annual Sim Haven Shelter in Place drill. We held our annual December command staff meeting. We hold those every 3 months, but our December one is typically a little bit longer as we're addressing some year-end stats. Sergeant Lane finalized the federal ballistic vest grant application, and we are expecting reimbursement soon for approximately 50%. Officers Heather Mason and Alex Dresselhaus completed their first month of field training, and we received several public records requests this month for body cam footage. Some community relations items. As you may recall, we were awarded the Agency of the Month by the Chiefs of Police for our outstanding community engagement. Operation Holiday Patrol took place throughout the month of December. Shop with a Hero, huge success on December 14th, had over a dozen volunteers and 19 disadvantaged children. Squad 1 attended the Chamber's Breakfast with the Grinch, first time they held that, and it was a huge success. Officers Williams and Chastain received recognition from an East Milford resident regarding their efforts on investigating a theft from her vehicle. Officer Eschman adopted our newest senior visit citizen and visited him twice during the month. Squad 2 participated in Kroger's Cocoa with the police, and Officers Brown and Dresselhaus attended an event at Target with Pattison Elementary School staff for a special needs class. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. Takes us to Fire and EMS, District Chief Miller.
Good evening. We're hitting training pretty hard this month. We've got people going to USAR, which is Urban Search and Rescue, kind of a technical rescue type class. Sending people to ice rescue, firefighting tactics, and we're also sending 2 of our officers to Maxwell class, which is a leadership class based on the John Maxwell 21 Laws of Irrefutable Leadership. Other than that, Fire Chief is doing a fire safety inspector course. That'll have 12 students, a lot of those from outside departments. That's all we got.
All right, thank you very much. That takes us to council comments. Anybody on council have any comments to share?
Just a couple questions. We keep talking about the charter review. Have you done one the last couple of years?
We did the one that got defeated in the election a couple
was,
years
what,
ago.
2 years
2 years
ago?
ago, I think, yes.
Okay.
We've talked about bringing that back up.
Okay. And then the other thing, to Michael Doss's memo about the JEDs, I would hate for him to give up something, and I know how much, but having been a part of the original JED and very enamored, or not enamored, but just ingrained in what a JED can and can't do, I would be certainly willing to serve on those boards. They usually only meet once or twice a year. But if Michael Doss I would hate for you to give, I know how,
We'll have to go to meetings.
Yeah, they meet once a year,
Yeah.
and they do them back to back to back to back.
Right.
So if I need to get off, so someone can get on and just stay
Yeah,
for
I
those
would,
instead
I would
of
be happy
breaking
to,
it
so
up.
I know we have to appoint someone, I see, for a new JED, but I would be more than willing to serve in that role in that position.
It's up to you, Michael, do you want to, and we'll get to that under committee assignments, but that's on the
Meeting, so absolutely. But if you need a member,
member on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine just giving them all up. I
Okay.
mean, again, because there'll be some meetings, if we have all day, then I'll be at one, then I'll have to wait for two more, and,
Right.
I mean, it's not like it's an inconvenience, but I'd just rather have one just start out. My opinion, I'm not on a point, would just be to have someone do all 7 of those boards from here on out as the appointment.
And I did that once before. I've served in that liaison from former city manager Loretta Roque. She stepped, and then for 4 years, I filled that role, so.
So do you want to go ahead and jump to that, like committee assignments? Does anybody else have any questions or comments or thoughts on the committee assignments? The chair people are just kind of listed there, but you guys will, each committee will vote at the first meeting on who they want to be chair. So that's not necessarily set in stone. Everybody's good with that?
Looks good to me.
All right, so we need to elect 2 members to the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Fund for 2022. There was currently as Sandy Russell and Janet Cooper. Janet, would you like to stay?
That's fine.
Okay. Do we have anybody else that wants to be on that committee?
I'll be on that committee, sure.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Absolutely.
Fighting for that? Okay. So Christopher is going to take that spot. All right, and the other thing to announce is that we do have a vacancy on our tree commission. The meetings are typically held monthly at 2 o'clock at City Hall. Is it, I forget, it's like the first Monday or something, it just says
It's Wednesday.
Wednesdays? Okay, so if you're interested in being on the tree commission, you can contact Miss Bain here at City Hall. Oh, there it is, it's right in front of me, second Wednesday of the month.
I missed
In
that
big
too.
letters. And the other vacancy we have is on Planning Commission. So if you're interested in that, you could also email Miss Bain at City Hall if you have an interest in being on Planning Commission.
So not to interrupt, but I guess I'll interrupt. So just for clarification, is Mr. Velardo going to serve on the JEDs? Is that what you all
Yes.
agreed to? I just want to check, there may, because there's articles of incorporation with that, we may need an ordinance for that, but I mean.
I'm pretty
that's-
sure we have to do that.
Couldn't
in
remember
I
in
think
the
there's a
past.
I
if
can't
we've done
remember,
that.
but that sounds right.
Identifying that, but we can put that on for the next one if
Right.
Okay.
there's,
Yeah.
we can certainly check on that. but-
All right.
Great.
So then that takes us to ordinances and resolutions.
Mayor, before we get there,
Yes.
has council traditionally, I was looking in the charter, I didn't see it, has council, like, approved these?
Oh, I guess we, do we need an official motion to approve that?
Yeah, I think what I would do is just with the, I know you've got it noted here, is this okay with everybody, is what I heard, except for.
Yes, except for Ralph's gonna do the
Ralph going for
Jets.
Michael. So if you just want to pencil that in, or it looks like you've already done, and that's
Yeah.
fine, and then we just pass this by.
We have a motion then
Passes by
to
motion.
accept the committee list as is.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
So for the record, just a minute's note that the mayor has, the as-is was writing in Mr. Velardo's name for,
Yes.
and this will be the
Document.
quote-unquote final. Great. Ooh, that's enough talking already. Here we go. Ordinance number 24-264, an ordinance authorizing change order with Trisco Construction Services LLC for additional city hall repairs in an amount not to exceed $11,198. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Ohio, Section 1. Having previously awarded the City Hall building repairs contract to Trisco Construction Services LLC for exterior repairs to City Hall per ordinance number 23-242, City Council hereby authorizes the city manager contract with Trisco for a change order for additional necessary repairs to City Hall in an amount not to exceed $11,198. The terms and conditions of this agreement are set forth in the bid specifications and fully incorporated by reference under and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Section 2, under and in accordance with Sections 12.05 and 12.07 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Motion to suspend the rules and read by title only?
Second.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Parrish.
Yes.
Ordinance number 24-264, an ordinance authorizing the change order with Trisco Construction Services LLC for additional City Hall repairs in an amount not to exceed $11,198.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Resolution number 2024-649, a resolution amending the rules of council, and therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Municipality of Milford, Ohio. Section 1, that the Council of City of Milford, a home rule charter municipality, the authority granted by Section 3.05 of the Milford City Charter. The rules of council that are set forth on the attachment hereto identified as, quote, Rules of Council 1-16-2024, close quote, which attachment is fully incorporated herein by reference in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Section 2, that this resolution shall amend and supersede any and all previous rules of council. Section 3, this resolution shall take effect and be enforced immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. With no, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
All right, thank you all, and stay warm. Tomorrow's going to be cold.
Yeah.